Hello. Tonight I had a realization and I wanted to speak about that because I think it may help some people who struggle with resentment, hate, anger. I think all these negative emotions that we don't like, but sometimes we I don't know how to say that in English, infligate, like we force ourselves to experience this kind of emotions despite the fact that it's not agreeable, neither comfortable, but it's a negative pattern that you may have. So I'm gonna share with you my realization, and I think it can help some of you to free yourself from some negative pattern that you can have. So first of all, let me give you a little context. The video won't be long. I think I will try to make it for 10 minutes, so I will be short. Little context. I'm born in a context in which I realized that I didn't want anyone to suffer like I did. So when I was young, I sincerely wanted to cultivate kindness and compassion to make people feel good, because I was afraid to hurting people, and I didn't want to hurt people because I know what it feels to hurt people, to be hurt. So I didn't want to be someone who hurt others. And what happened in my life is that I experienced early in my teenagerhood and when I was a young adult, you know how it works. So some hateful people, some people I met in my life, people who felt bad with themselves, who were envious, jealous, who just had some pleasure to hurt other people because they were bad with themselves. And all these experiences led me to develop a big resentment, a big hate. It was more the accumulation and the sum of meeting all these kind of people, because I realized I was thinking my life was not better than yours, and still I chose to not hurt people because I don't want to hurt people. And seeing people be so unconscious and so lazy and prefer to choose the easy path, which is hurting people to just feel a little bit better with yourself when you feel bad about yourself. At a moment in my life, I think I exploded, which means I really developed a big anger within me, and I started to be kind of mean. For me, it's mean because from my perspective, but I think from another perspective, you could say that I just became normal, even if sometimes I can still consider I've been mean, like defending myself, entering in a defensive pattern in a way. If you attack me, then I started to attack you, and so on, because I was fed up to have patience and understanding with people. Before, when someone was trying to annoy me, I was thinking this person feels bad, so I just had understanding and I wasn't especially reacting. But then the accumulation of all this led me to become more mean and to allow myself to be angry, to develop my anger, to express it, to be mean, to be sure that nobody else will approach me to annoy me or to hurt me. And it worked for a period, and it was pleasant for a period, to be honest, to allow myself to be mean and to allow myself to be the one who hurt people, because at the end this is what I wanted. I wanted who wants to be the person who hurt others instead of being the hurt person because other people were feeling lost or had a bad day and so on. I want you to be, for once, the person who give up others, the person who just let her being mean, indeed. Not thinking too much about how people would feel if I do that or that. Just doing what I feel I wanted to do, even if it can hurt people. I mean, I say that, I think if you compare my behavior, I describe like that, to someone who is really mean, I think you would still think maybe that it was not really mean. But still, the intention was there, I had the intention to be mean. And for years I became like that. And now I realize that this is a realization. So I think now it's 6 minutes, so the video will be short. This is the realization I had now. I realized I was watching a TikTok. Yes, not really nice, but and this is a woman, a girl who's living at her mother's house, and her mother is kind of narcissist, and she's really mean. And watching this video reminds me to me when I was a kid, and I decided that I would never want to hurt anybody because I know how it feels. And it reminds me that I think deeply. I chose to be like that because I wanted to be sure I would never hurt my kids when I will have some kids. I still don't have kids, but I wanted to be sure. I wanted to develop this part of me, this kindness and this empathy, because I wanted to be sure I would never hurt my kids and my kids would never feel hurt or destroyed. I wanted to be sure. I decided to have this behavior to be sure that my kids would keep their love complete, pure, and would never feel things I experience in my own life. And then I keep going with my logic that I developed at the end of my teenagerhood, when I started to become a young adult. Because I started to decide to be mean because I thought that it's unfair that people just express everything bad they have within them to feel better. And at the end, I'm the only one who tried to contain things and make things well and trying to take care of me and others as well. And I thought that it was really unfair. So it would be more unfair if I'm also selfish, if I'm also mean, if I'm also reactive, if I'm also on the defensive. And when I was watching this video today, right now, like 30 minutes ago, I realized that it's fair. This is true. My logic is correct. If you just watch closely, if you watch closely the situation, like this person hurt me, I hurt this person, this seems fair. But if I take some distance and I have an overview about everything, about life, I realize that all the shit behavior I decided to develop and to choose to have, at the end, this is my kids who will support it the most. And when I realized that this is not fair neither. This is not fair at all. Because kids are born and they deserve any harm. They deserve anything bad that happened to them because they never did anything bad to anybody. But still, all this logic, I realized that it's super negative. And this is my kids who will need to live with a mother who think that way, which is totally unfair. And then it came back. It reminds me when I was kids and I decided I wanted to be kind and be sure people feel great and so on. And I realized it was the most smart decision I did in my life. And maybe I should go back to this way of thinking. And I should let go and release the way of thinking I developed when I became a young adult. Because at the end, yes, I can win an argument with a stranger or with a friend or whatever. But my kids won't deserve anything about this kind of behavior. And if I'm their mother, they will see me. Kids repeat what they see, and I cannot be another person with my kid and with other people. So I will have the same behavior with my kid. Maybe less intensively because I will love them, but still, And I want my kids to have a great example about what love is. So I think it's more fair to accept that I can experience some situation I could consider unfair in life, but still I would be able to love my kids deeply, kindly, and I would teach them what is love in a world full of hate at the end, than keep thinking and feeding this way of thinking in my life about how to be reactive, defend myself, thinking in a strategic way and so on. I don't say I do that every time, but I developed this kind of thinking because it's how, in a way, the world is. A lot of people are mean and bad and feel bad and so on. But at the end, this is also an unfair thing to be like that for my kids that are not born yet, but still they don't deserve that. So I've decided that I will make love the center of my life again, even if some people may think that I lose an argument or I'll let them hurt me, because I want to be the incarnation of love for my kids and for my future husband and for my family and for people around me and for myself. This is something I didn't include when I was young, when I was a kid. I wanted to be kind to others, but I was not really including me in this equation. So right now I choose to go back to this way of thinking, but I want to include myself in this love I want to give to people. I want to receive the same love, and I want to be treated with the same caring I would care about others. So I hope it helped you to reflect on things. If you feel angry, resentful, and all of this shit. Thank you for listening.